Go ahead and put in the chat down below. You should be able to throw in, I'm curious where you're at, what's your location, what city are you out of? Get some conversations going in here. We'll give a few minutes for some more people to hop on, and then we'll go ahead and jump right into this. So just to kind of set the stage, if you will, for what we're going to cover today is the sales process that we have used as a company here at Onyx Homes that has led us to, we got Eric. What's up, man? We've used this as a company to sell over 400 homes over the last 4 years. And this is really birthed out of when I was personally in production, what I had to do to be able to manage a ton of clients really, really early in my career. So I used this to close 24 transactions in my first year. And I did, I believe, 26 or 27 in my second year while building this company as well, too. And in my third year, I was really able to step out of production and really just focus on managing this team. So we got people from all over the place, which is super cool. If you guys have any issues, you can hear, see, I assume everything works well because Carly, who is in the chat as well too, we tested everything. So we think this should be good. But anyway, I think this is going to be about 45 minutes to an hour. If you guys know anything about me, I talk rather fast. So if I'm going too fast, guys, definitely let me know. And throw questions down in the chat. There's going to be time, I believe, at the end. We got an hour in here, but I'm going to try to leave some time at the end for a Q&A so we can have a more conversation about it. But if you are going to drop a question on something that I've covered, just go ahead and drop that into the chat. But let's go ahead and do this. If you don't know who I am, my name is Christian Stubbs. I'm a team leader here of Onyx Homes. I've been in the business for a little over 4.5 years. And this whole webinar is for our sales process that we use. So let's dive in. Carly's asking, you guys can see my signs. Can you just drop a yes to make sure that you guys can actually see what I'm looking at too? And I'll get started. Sweet. I got a yes. All right, good to go. So here's our agenda today. I'm going to talk a little bit about my background. I'm going to spend as little time on that as possible because it's not the most fun thing in the world. But we're going to spend a ton of time is the actual sales process. And this is what we use in our business for all different lead types and all different lead sources, most importantly. And then I'm going to explain a little bit about what Onyx conversion actually means. And then we'll talk next steps, because at the end of this webinar, the goal is that you can take this and implement it directly into your business, whether you are just starting or frankly, whether you're a team leader running a team like ours and you're looking for a way to increase conversion. This is one of the best things we did with our business. So let's talk a little bit about me. I'll make this as quickly as possible. So here's my timeline. Is I quit a job that was a pretty good job, but I hated it in May of 2019. I took a month off and I had 6 months of savings set aside. So if you are a newer agent of the business, this might sound like a similar situation. I had almost exactly 6 months of savings set aside, and I just said, you know what, I'm gonna invest in myself and make that jump. So June 1st was my very first day in the business. September of 2019, I closed my first listing. Believe it or not, it was at a 6% listing agreement, which I'm super proud of. But also, this might be a little bit comical. It was on the market for about 45 to 60 days, if I remember correctly as well too. So very early on, I was able to get and close a listing, and I did it all through open houses. So for my first 6 months of my career, I was doing an open house every single Saturday and Sunday from 12 to 5, or frankly, as long as somebody would let me hold the open house. And I was doing Fridays when I could. One of my favorite things was to do the same open house over and over and over again, to where I got to know the neighborhood better. I got to know the neighbors. And that was where that first listing came from. And then I got another deal from a buyer who I met at a listing. So this was a property that closed just a few months later in October of 2019 as well too. So this is a property down in Dana Point. And then the business really changed. So after doing 6 months of open houses very consistently, I had almost too many, I shouldn't say almost, I had too many people, too many leads that I got from these open houses in order to really make sure that I was servicing them. And what we ended up doing was creating what we call now our sales process. So where if you've ever felt like this, where you're trying to you're reinventing the wheel and just trying to figure out, okay, other people are doing well, like why am I getting stuck here? This is where we decided to create a process that we could follow to where we're doing exactly the same time every single time, so that there was no guessing of what do I do next, what should I do here. It was a very clear process. So that's what we're going to cover today. And I like these little images. I like to throw a lot of pictures in here as well too. So I wanted to make this very simple. And what I've done is I broke it down into a 4-stage process. And this process really allowed me personally to close between 2 and 3 deals every single month for my first 2 full years in the business, I'll say. So back then, I wish I had the month on here, but this was my calendar snapshot from early 2020, pre-COVID. And this was a normal week. So this was 17 showings with 5 different clients, listing presentation, pictures for another listing, and an inspection for a current escrow we had. So this was a very normal week for what it looked like. And I was able to do this in a very, very organized way, right? And if anybody knows me now, that this last slide probably makes you like, what in the world? But this is what my calendar looks like nowadays. Shout out to our coach, to Tom Ferry. Tasha's on there as well too. This was that last picture was before I discovered time blocking, which has been a life changer, but that's a whole nother webinar for another day. Cool. So with this sales process, we internally call this our Onyx conversion. I'll never miss an opportunity for branding, that's for sure. So at the end of the short time today, I'm going to give you an opportunity to really look under the hood and get the exact training that we have our agents go through to get this. So I see Layla, Brian, Rob, some of our agents have probably already gone through this training. So this is something that we're opening up. And I think something is really important to mention here as well too, is that from 2022, which is a good year for us as a business, 2023, we were up 30% over what we did the previous year. And if you're hearing a lot of other people talk about comparing 2023 to 2022, a lot of the times they're going to say, I outpaced the market by whatever percentage. And I don't know about, it looks like a lot of us were in Orange County here, and Orange County's market was down 38%. So for us to have an up year of 30% means really, compared to a normal year, we had a 68% increase. So I attribute a lot of that, and our agents do, to this process as well too. So as far as the agenda goes, that's my background. I think that was 6 minutes, so I try to get through that as fast as possible. So let's dive right into what you guys really came here for today. Anytime I'm making a process, whether this is for personal, for business, whatever it is, I try to make it absolutely as simple as possible, more so that I can remember it, but also so that agents can also follow it, and it's the same every single time. So one of my favorite quotes that I heard from a Tom Ferry conference 2 years ago, I believe this was from Phil Jones. If you don't know who he is, I would definitely look him up. I have this written down on my whiteboard in my office at the office, and it's doing the basics at a high level consistently. And that is the epitome of what this sales process really is you're not recreating the wheel, you're following a proven process. And if you do it at a high level and you do that consistently, you're going to be successful in the business. So here are the 4 steps, and then we'll dive into each one very deeply. Again, the goal for this is that I would like you to be able to plug this into your business within 30 minutes to an hour afterwards. So the first step is what I call becoming best friends. The goal of this step is to meet with more of the people that you set an appointment with. Now, this webinar, I should preface that our sales process works for all different lead sources. So whether this is a open house lead, which is what it was built on, which turned into online leads like Zillow, Realtor.com, but this could be as simple as an expired, a for sale by owner. This works for buyers. This works for sellers. This works for a lot of different things. The examples that I'll dive into are more buyer focused because buyers are obviously easier to get in front of. And I think everybody understands those as well too. So this sales process really starts after you've set an appointment. We'll do more content on how to set appointments, which is a totally different mindset than what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about how to convert more leads into clients. So the goal of becoming best friends is to meet with more of the leads that you've set appointments with, right? Put down in the chat if you've set an appointment with somebody, you've been on the phone or you're at an open house and you feel like you did an awesome job, you set next steps, and then you get ghosted, right? You show up at the next property and they're not there, or you try to reach out and follow up with them and then you'll never hear from them again. I know it's happened to me a ton of times. And when I was so busy where I was meeting 4 or 5 new clients every single week, I was just not able to get ghosted at a property because it was such an incredibly large waste of time. So that's where this came from. So this might sound overly simple, but stay with me here, is appointments cancel. It happens all the time. And in my experience, an average salesperson will only meet with about half of the appointments that they set. So if our goal here is if an average salesperson sets 10 appointments, that you're going to meet with 5 of them, right? That's kind of the average that I've noticed. So let's say we can increase that from only meeting 5 people to meeting 8, right? That's 3 more, which 3 more may or may not sound like a lot, but it's actually a 30% increase, which is a huge jump. Now let's zoom out. Let's say you could meet 3 more people, could be the difference in doing 1 extra deal this year. Or frankly, it could be the difference in doing 1 more deal a month, really just depending on what level you're at. If you're setting 100 appointments and you're meeting half, you're going to be meeting 50, you really could be meeting 80 additional people. So what's really cool about getting good at meeting the appointments you're setting is that this is going to turn into a way higher conversion ratio, right? The difference between meeting with 50 people versus meeting with 80. If you don't change anything else in your business, you're going to sell 30% more houses. You don't have to get better at closing. You don't have to get better at getting your offers accepted. If you just meet with more people, you're going to sell more houses. That's my favorite part of why step 1 is so important. So here's how we do it with our team. We set super, super clear expectations. If you're on this webinar, whether it's live or recording, you probably had very clear expectations of what it was going to look like getting here, how to get here, how to show up on time, and what it was going to be about. So this does not just work for buyers, sellers. This works for absolutely everything. So setting very clear expectations is something super important. If you're on our team, if you use Follow Up Boss, I'm going to give everybody the exact templates that we use to do exactly what I'm talking about. So if you set an appointment with me, Ryan, if you're on this, this is the screenshot from the text message that I sent you the second we got off the phone call. So if I said this before, and I'll say it again, is if I'm going to create a process, I want to make something that is exactly the same every single time. So when I hop off the phone with somebody, at the end of the conversation, I'm going to say, hey, Ryan, if this is the first conversation, I'm going to say, hey, Ryan, it was really nice chatting with you. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a text message from my personal phone so you can save this in your phone. Save my number in your phone. And then I'm going to do whatever else I said I was going to do, right? So they're going to get a text message with me saying exactly what I want them to do. I don't think you guys can see my mouse, but this is my cell phone. So save it in your phone, that middle portion right there. That's what I want them to do. I want them to save my number in their phone. So the next time that I call, text, email, whatever, that I'm popping up, right? That portion right there. So setting clear expectations is the first thing. The next thing is more communication is way better than less communication. Yes, that is my cell phone if you want to shoot me a text or call. So this allows you to build rapport. Do not tell them you're an expert. You want to show them you're an expert. This is also known as being helpful in solving people's problems. So here are some different ways to do it. Take excellent notes. If they have kids, dogs, things that they've mentioned, different places that they'd like, you're going to set up their search immediately. So at worst, you have the MLS. If you hopefully have your own website, if you want to check out ours, Carly will put it in the chat down below, socalhomesforsale.com. I'm going to set up my search through our website that makes me look like a professional, right? This is a website that looks just like Zillow. And this is what I'm sending to our clients every single time. And all of our agents do this as well too. You're also going to send them your most recent market update. So if you've followed us at all, if you're on our newsletter, Carly will probably also, I didn't realize how many links I was going to drop here, but we send a market update to our clients every single month. We also do a newsletter that we run every single week, but at least we promote our agents to send a monthly market update to our agents, to their clients every single month. This is something that's curated on our market, on our areas. And this, what Carly just put in the chat, the ocmarketupdates.com, is what is client facing. I would hugely recommend doing this if you're not already doing it. Here's an example of what this looks like. You probably see that I'm in my at-home studio. I film a video. I write the email. This is real content written in my words. This converts like crazy. Different video. We'll go into that later. The last thing is be professional. Outshine the competition by miles. So again, this is Follow Up Boss. This is exactly what every single one of my appointments would look like when I was booking this appointment. So it'll say the address. I want to get as specific as I can. The address, 123 Main Street with, and then I'm going to say their name with Christian. I want them to know that it is them and then remind them of my name. Something as simple as that. I'm going to set up the time for how long it's going to be, the address of where we're meeting so that they're going to get a calendar invite and they can just pick up their phone and they can just click the address and drive to that property, assuming it's a property tour. If it is a listing, either way, I'm doing that also for myself, right? If I go back to the image where I showed you a calendar of 17 showings with 5 different clients, there were days where I was meeting somebody to see 3 properties, going to see 4 more properties with the next person. And if it wasn't for my calendar to give me 2 seconds to figure out where I was going next, I don't know what I would have done. And Follow Up Boss sends the reminder text message as well too. I'll look at these arrows I put on here and totally forgot about. So this is an email. I'm sorry. This is a text message reminder of what's going on. So every time I set an appointment, anytime any of our agents set an appointment, the consumer is going to get a text message reminder at 8:30 in the morning confirming the appointment. Again, the whole goal of becoming best friends is to meet with more people. So if I'm sending a reminder text message saying, hey, we're going to meet tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Here's the address. If you have any questions, let me know. If I don't get a response, thank you, see you then, whatever, I have a pretty good idea that I might be getting ghosted. So I'm going to do some additional follow-up to make sure I'm not wasting my time with somebody who's maybe they had to reschedule, whatever, life happens. So I want to make sure I'm protected with that. There is a lot more detail on this, but I'm going to save, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to save the training that I have for our team. I'll have that for you guys at the end as well too. But these are super easy changes that you can implement in your business to meet with more of the appointments that you set starting tomorrow, actually starting right after this. If you're on Pacific Coast, which most of us are, this is something you could have up and running by 2 o'clock today. So these are something that are very simple, very easy. Cool. So step number 1 is becoming best friends. My hope is, especially for those agents on our team that are watching this, that this is memorized. So step number 1 is becoming best friends. Step number 2 is winning at the job interview. So the goal for step number 1 was getting more people to meet you at the first appointment. The goal for step number 2 is to add enough value at the first interview or the first meeting or showing or listing presentation, whatever it is, so that you ensure a second one. That's the goal. Assume that they're talking to 5 other agents because they probably are. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got, I won't give you too much more of my background, but I was in the dealership industry, and I was told by my, I don't want to say mentor, my manager at the time, that when you let somebody leave that dealership, they went to the next dealership down the road and they talked to the best salesperson there. Then if they left that dealership, they'd go to talk to the next best salesperson there. So it was just that realization that, like, shoot, if I don't do my job here, they're going to go meet another salesperson. And what do people do at an open house? They go to 8 different open houses in the same day. They're meeting 8 different agents, and we're all on an interview. So whether you're doing open houses, cold calling, door knocking, taking online leads, appointments set for you from your team, whatever it might be, your job is to stand out. So I don't have it with me, but we have, with all of our first showings, we have a branded, again, I won't miss anything branded. You can see by my water bottle. Bring a branded packet that shows a ton of value, and don't just hand it to them, right? There's neat examples of our buyer packet, right? These are going to be things that say everything you normally talk about in your sales process. You're going to have flyers, you're going to have printouts already made, and you're going to explain to them, hey, a lot of our clients have found these things super helpful. This is a printout that is about our buyer's consultation. This is a printout about how our website works, so on and so on, so that you are separating yourself from the competition. So when you're handing something to your client, whatever it is that you do bring, hopefully it's not just an MLS flyer printout, that you are explaining why you're giving it to them and why your previous clients have found it super helpful. That is extremely important. So understanding that your first meeting is the job interview, whether you think it is or not, is really the first step here. So separating yourself is number one. Number two is a sales framework that we follow here at Onyx Homes that I personally have always followed. I heard this closer framework and I made the association that, hey, I've always followed something like this. And now that there is an actual framework here, I'm just going to go ahead and plug this in to be for real estate. So this is also included in the training that I've been talking about as well too. So you don't feel like you have to memorize this. Again, I know I talk fast, but you will get a recording here. So for time's sake, I won't go into the whole entire framework, but let's talk about the C in closer, which stands for clarify. And just for the record, I hate that it's called closer, but it works. So C is for clarify, which means you need to understand why this person is talking to a salesperson and you are the salesperson, right? So it's not for fun. I can promise you that, but you really want to understand, why are they out looking at property? Why are they talking to a listing agent? Or why are they asking for real estate advice? So here are some scripting questions. So if you want to kind of jot things down, you can. But asking questions like, when you're in a property tour, this is my absolute favorite question to ask. How does this house compare into everything else that you've been seeing? This is going to give you so much information, so much more information than just the actual question you asked. Their answer is going to tell you a lot. It's going to tell you whether they've been looking at other properties or whether it's their first time, whether they already have an agent that they're working with, or whether, again, if it's their first time out looking at properties and they tell you that, they're probably early on in the research phase and they probably don't have an agent. They haven't looked at properties and they're standing there with you. But if they answer like, yeah, this doesn't look as good as the ones we looked at yesterday, your red flag should go up like, hey, this person looked at properties yesterday with not me. So I might need to dig in a little bit deeper right here. So that is one of my favorite questions, is how does this house look in comparison to everything else you've been seeing? So I'm curious, in the chat, go ahead and drop down if you're at a property tour, if you're meeting somebody for the first time, what is your go-to first line? I'd be curious to see that in there. And if you don't have one, you can take a few out of here. So once you understand their why, you're moving on to setting that next appointment. So this is a word tracking or a script that I would get very used to using as well too, is based on what you've shared with me, right? So you're going to say this after you have clarified why in the world they're looking to make a move in the first place, right? So based on what you've shared with me, our clients who are in your exact same shoes have found that doing what we call a strategy session has been really helpful, right? So they're going to tell you that they're looking to make a move because they have 7 kids in a 2-bedroom and it's just too small. So, and they're looking to make a move in whatever timeline they share. So this, based on what you've shared with me, our clients have found that are in the same shoes. I found that doing what we call a strategy session is something really helpful. What we cover is what our clients are doing to take advantage of the market, how we keep you protected through the entire process, and how we get you the best deal possible regardless of the circumstances. So whatever your sales pitch is, this is where you're going to, in my opinion, find your 3, I would say no more than 3 bullet points, but at least 2 to 4 little bullets of why they should do this. What are they going to get out of it? right? This is not telling them exactly what we're going to do. This is sharing with them what they're going to get out of it. Like I said, pro tips, I've found bullet points to be way easier than a paragraph script or anything like that. You'll probably notice that I do this through this webinar as well too. It's how my brain works, but I think it's frankly also just makes things way simpler. So whatever the thing is, winning at the job interview is you're going to need to set the next appointment. So if you did a very good job clarifying of why they're moving in the first place, you're going to share with them, hey, based on everything you just told me, this thing, whether it's a strategy session or something else, our clients have found really, really helpful. And then you're going to tell them how it's helped clients in the past and how it will help them. So when they say, yeah, that doesn't sound like a bad idea, let's go ahead and do that. Pull out your phone, book the appointment right there. If you need to drive to the office to go do it in person, awesome. We do ours over Google Meets. We have a nice slide deck that looks very similar to what we're looking at here. This is something that you need to get very, very, very good at, is a buyer's consultation, or what we call a strategy session. And if you do not book a strategy session, you'll skip to number 4. But let's just say that you did. And this is really where, in my opinion, you are earning the business. This is where you're going to turn that person that you just met with from a lead to a client. I think we're all guilty of calling everybody a client when the reality is we really don't have that many clients. We might have a lot of leads, but we need to turn those leads into clients. That's the whole process, whole point of this process. So earning the business. When I'm suggesting a strategy session to my clients, I jokingly say it can take 20 minutes or 2 hours, depending on how many questions I ask. I'm not scaring them by saying it's going to take 2 hours. I'm saying, hey, it's 20 minutes worth of content, but you might have so many additional questions that it might take 2 hours. I'm setting the expectation that they're going to, and they should have, a lot of questions. Needless to say, we don't have 2 hours for me to go through our strategy session in this process today. So as I mentioned several times, this is going to be for you in our Onyx conversion training. So in that training, you're going to get our whole sales process, which is what we're breaking down today, in way more detail. Today, we're really just covering the basics because I don't have 3 or 4 hours to spend with you guys here. So the next thing is you're going to get a full 2-hour training on that strategy session with the most common questions that were asked by our agents, setting me up on how to answer those. So you're going to hear a lot of objection handling. You're going to hear exactly my strategy session, my buyer's consultation that I've always done, that we teach to our agents. You'll also get the slide deck as well too. You'll get your scripting from to close more appointments. So we talked about this in getting in there. That closer framework is really what's going to help you set more appointments with more leads. So you're going to get that entire closer framework as well too, including all of the scripts. So if you do want this, you can type this into your browser right now. Don't jump out of here because I have a lot more content to share, but go to onyxconversion.com and you can sign up for this university. It's totally on demand, totally free. So just sign up, you go through that. You could probably do it in a couple hours, I would guess. That's something that I'd probably recommend going through several different times as kind of my advice there. So step number 4 is creating a game plan. So just to kind of recap, we have became best friends, right? So we're doing everything we can to meet with more of these people. We're winning at the job interview, meaning we're following that closer framework. We're really clarifying why they're looking to make a move in the first place. And we are setting that next step, which ideally, and especially for buyers, should be a strategy session or a buyer's consultation. If you are a listing agent, obviously, you would never take a listing without doing a listing presentation. You might pre-qualify that listing presentation before you go, figure out where this person's at in the process, but nowhere in the world would you expect to get a listing without doing a listing presentation, or as we call them, a listing consultation. You would go to the house, do the presentation, answer all of their questions, explain the process, do all those things, and then ask for the business. And that's what we do with that strategy session for buyers as well too. Very few agents do this, and even a smaller percentage of agents that do it at a very high level. This is one of the best ways to separate yourself. So step number 4, sorry, I skipped ahead, is creating a game plan. And the big underlined part here that is in parentheses is that your client agrees to. You do not want to set up a game plan. I think we're all guilty of this. I've done it myself. Is okay, I'm going to call this person in 30 days from now. They told me that was when they were wanting to move, right? If you're watching this in January and we're sitting here and we're thinking that, cool, this person said, call me at the beginning of the year, and we talked to them in summer of last year, you call them up at the beginning of the year and they're like, oh, we already moved. We already sold. We already bought, whatever. And creating a game plan that your client agrees to is the most important part of this entire thing. So when you're doing that, you're going to, whether you've set a strategy session or not, you're going to make sure. So based on where you're at in the process, a lot of our clients have found this thing really valuable. So what you're sharing with them in this easy script to remember is, I'm listening. Based on what you shared with me, I'm listening to you. A lot of our clients have found, a lot of our clients, meaning I do have other clients, you are not my first client, I promise I know what I'm doing, have found this thing that I'm suggesting we do really valuable. So put very simply, you're going to say, based on where you're at in the process, a lot of our clients have found this thing really valuable. And this thing could be strategy session, this could be a listing presentation, or whatever other next step you're setting. The big thing here is you do not want to sell the airport. You want to sell the vacation. So the best analogy I've heard, and I'll just kind of reuse it, is if you were giving away a trip to Hawaii, you are probably not going to sell it by saying, okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to drive for 30 minutes to an hour to the airport. You got to be there 2.5 hours early. You're going to go through TSA not pre-check. You're going to go through TSA. You're going to have to take off your belt, take off your shoes. You're going to have to throw something way out of your bag. You're going to wait in the airport for 2.5 hours. You're going to sit on a plane for 6 hours, and then you're going to be in Hawaii. That is not at all how you would sell going to Hawaii. You'd be selling the sand and the beaches and the pina colada on the beach. That's what you'd be selling. And that's the idea of when you are selling your service, you're not telling them that we're going to walk through an 80-page contract. I'm going to explain everything, right? We're going to go through and sell the actual end result, not the airport itself. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I go way more in depth on this Onyx conversion training at onyxconversion.com. All right. So end the meeting with setting the next steps. So just to recap our game plan, whatever you just agreed to, I'm going to ABC so that you can XYZ, right? So I'm going to go back to my office and I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to set you up on a safe search. I'm going to send you our most recent market update. I'm going to, we're going to do a buyer's consultation so that you can see what our clients are doing to take advantage of the market. You can see how we keep you protected through the entire process. And so you can take advantage of you get the best deal under whatever the circumstances are, right? You're going to explain, all right, so just to recap, we said we were going to do this thing for you so that you can get this out of it, right? And with our team, we have built out an email template that is just the most basic information that a seller or a buyer really wants. I send this at the end of every single buyer tour. So I end the conversation with saying, hey, I'm going to send you some helpful information that our clients have found very helpful. So when you get back to your house or whatever, check your email. You'll have this in your inbox. If you don't see it, check your spam. So it's as simple as the subject line is helpful info, and I'm going to send them a link to our mortgage calculator, again, on our website, a link to the strategy session, which explains on our website why you should be doing a strategy session, and then tax information. I also give them a call to action at the end with a little PS that they can jump on our newsletter if they're not already on it, right? So this is super simple, but everybody likes mortgage information, tax information, and just a recap on that strategy session, because that cannot emphasize this enough. That absolutely should be the next step. All right. Just for reference, do clients actually care about this? Yes. We've sent this over personally. I've sent this almost 500 times. I would say this averages out to people who've opened it almost 3 times, at least twice on average. And it's clicked on 5% of the time, right? So they're clicking on one of those links 5% of the time. So this means that the consumers that I'm sending this to are actually interested in the information I'm sending. I'm huge on email marketing, but bad emails do not convert. They hurt you more than they help you. So when you find something that works, go ahead and stick with it. So I'll go back, take a screenshot of this, plug this into your business as well too. You'll get the recording of this email too also. So whether they're moving in 2 weeks or in 2 years, put the game plan in place that they agree to. So we're talking a lot about the people who are ready to go right now. Your next step should be that strategy session, that buyer's consultation or the listing consultation. The reality is not everybody's moving right now. And this is what I can attribute a tremendous amount of long-term conversion is creating a game plan for that person that's 2 years out. Most agents are like, oh, you're not moving in 90 days, forget it. I'm never calling that person again. There are sales trainers that train, throw their number away if they're not moving in 90 days. Anybody ever heard that? Blows me away. We have people in our database that are 2, 3, 4-year-old leads that are like, yep, never made a move, ready to go. Or maybe we dropped the ball, didn't convert them, and now they bought a home and now they're a seller. These are huge opportunities. So if that person is on a 2-year game plan, you're probably not going to book a strategy session to talk about how our clients are taking advantage of the market right now. You're probably going to say, hey, here's what I can do for my clients here's what I do for my clients that are in your exact same situation. If you're just kind of feeling out the market, you're planning on moving in the next couple of years, here's what I do. I go ahead and share a monthly market update so you can know exactly what's going on in the market. I'll set you up on a search or a CMA so that you can know exactly what's going on in the areas that you're looking to buy or in your neighborhood if you're a seller. And I'll touch base every couple of months just to make sure that you're getting everything if we need to make any adjustments. Sound good? And if they say, no, Christian, never call me again. You didn't do anything helpful for me. I didn't get anything out of this. At least I know now. And maybe I have an objection to overcome to keep that client. But most of the time, what you're going to do, they're going to say, yeah, that sounds great. And then here's the secret sauce is you actually follow up on what you're going to do, right? A lot of the times we feel like we get ghosted, and in going through a database of thousands and thousands of leads, more often than not, when the agent gets ghosted, it's their fault from a long time ago. So when you get ghosted, it's not anything you did at that moment that you feel like you're being ghosted. It's from 6 months or a year ago when you just didn't do a very good job setting expectations of what the relationship was going to look like. If you had said, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm going to send you a market update every single month. I'm going to set you up on your saved search so that in the neighborhoods that you're looking in, you can keep an idea of what has listed, what it sells for, how long it takes, and all that stuff. And then I'll just touch base every couple of months to keep you updated on the kind of the nuances that you won't be able to see in the market updates. Does that sound good? And if they said yes, when you actually call them back in 60 days after you've sent them 2 market updates, you've updated them on their neighborhood twice, your conversation's easy. It's, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this is Christian. Last time we talked, you shared with me that you were not looking to move anytime soon, but I wanted to make sure you got our market updates. What did you think? Right? You're sending us something valuable, easiest script in the world. Did you get it? What'd you think? So that is how to very easily stop yourself from getting ghosted. So again, one of my biggest takeaways I want you to have is that after this webinar, that you're able to plug into your business this right now to meet with more people, hopefully convert more appointments. You probably won't be able to do that right after this webinar. If you go through the Onyx conversion, I think you'll be able to increase those sales skills to actually set and convert more appointments. But at least you'll be able to meet with more people. You're going to come off as a professional. And the last step is, if you just create that game plan, even for those people that are 2 years or 10 years out, you're going to win those relationships way before they're ready to go. And your conversion next year and the year after will go way up. And I promise your income 2 years will thank you now for making those changes. Promise. Cool. So as I said before, you really do have to follow up forever with these people. And if they bought in, it makes it way easier. So follow-up is going to sound something like, I give you an example, just as I promised, I'm checking in with you about the thing we talked about. So instead of that, it's going to be, hey, John, this is Christian with Onyx Homes. I just wanted to follow up and see if you're ready to make a move yet, right? So that's not what we want to be saying. If I say I'm just following up, they're just saying what the consumer's hearing is, hey, are you moving yet? Do you want to buy? Do you want to sell? Nobody likes that. So when you go with the first option here, which is, hey, it's Christian, Onyx Homes. As promised, I'm checking in with you about the thing we talked about your neighborhood. What did you think? Or what are the thoughts? Where are we at? This is all the stuff we cover in that Onyx conversion training. Cool. So becoming best friends, winning at the job interview, earning the business, and then creating the game plan every single time with every single client. And this is what's going to allow you to be able to handle way more clients. Now, this isn't the only thing that allows allowed me to do it personally and allows our agents to do it. A lot of it is our Onyx conversion as well too, which we'll kind of dive into right now. So there's more than just the process. And as I mentioned, all this stuff before, I'll kind of skip past this. This is what I don't know if I mentioned is this training is completely free. There's no upsell, there's no nothing, giving all this stuff away. So our Onyx conversion is that entire training. So in that conversion process, what we are talking about is it is the accountability of you actually doing what you said you're going to do. It is the strategy session. It is the tech that we use. So our CRM tells us who to follow up with. What in the world did we say last time? We don't record phone calls because we're in California, but we record everything that's happening and we track everything. So all of those things put together are our Onyx conversion. And the major thing in there is the accountability, to be quite honest. So the next steps, again, I do not want everybody to leave this and feel like they need to recreate the wheel. So remember these guys? This is the simple process, and let's just keep it as simple as it is, right? Remember doing the basics at a high level consistently. So from this free training, I promise you're going to get all of the things that we just talked about in way, way, way more detail. So there's also things that you need to implement in your business as well too, to see everything else we have to offer. So this is a really small sample of some of the trainings we have on our team. So let's talk about the next steps. Our agents get a very consistent flow of leads, ready to move people. So like I said, in my beginning in my story, I did open houses most Fridays, a lot of Saturday, or every Saturday and Sunday for 6 months. And then I got too busy to the point where I had to start I was out with clients over the weekend. So I was really having a hard time getting more leads. Open houses were my only really way of getting leads. And if I was out touring properties during my normal open house times, I wasn't able to do both. So that was when we found online lead generation. And what we found was we were pretty good at not just generating the leads, but converting the leads with this process. And this is something that our agents have access to, is frankly more opportunities than our current agents really can even handle. So last year, on a year the market was down by 38%, we generated 4,400 leads. Our agents in our database making 100,000 phone calls, 260,000 emails, and 11,000 appointments. So we don't just have leads, we have leads that actually convert. We have the best tech in the industry. So this is one of the big things I would say as well too, is you have to use a CRM. I don't care what brokerage you're at or what team you're on. I promise they provide a CRM. You just need to use it. And hopefully it's already built out for you where you're not recreating the wheel. But that is something that we have a very, very robust sales process built out with a ton of different tech. Listings are incredibly expensive, or can be. So there's a lot of listings that we pay for everything on our team for the agent. So listing photography, listing videography with a spotlight for our agents to be able to promote themselves in that listing as the expert. So they're giving a walkthrough tour, and that's something that we pay for the agents, as well as a custom website, luxury brochures, signs, and so on and so on. Our amazing Carly and our amazing marketing department does all of that stuff for them. All our agents really have to do for listing is check the boxes and write the description. And then marketing and transaction support. And this is just a little bit of nugget of what some of the quotes that our agents have left about our team. So I know I mentioned that I'm going to have things for you to take away, but if you are interested in learning a little bit more about our team, frankly, if you're a team leader as well too, and you want to check out everything we offer to our agents, we are super, super transparent. And you can see everything that we offer to our agents on the website, joinonyxhomes.com. So after you finish your webinar, here's your homework. Okay, now get that out of the way. Is create your emails and text templates, or just use the ones that we provided. Those are exactly the ones we use. You're going to go ahead and create your elevator pitch for your strategy session, or you can just copy exactly what we say. You can go ahead and master the strategy session that you're going to use. Cannot emphasize this enough. You can copy ours, go to onyxconversion.com. You do not have to join the team to use our strategy session. Everything in there is totally for free. The last thing is use your CRM, make notes, and the most important thing, underline, is be consistent. And we have, like I said, with our company, we have a tremendous amount of built-in accountability with our team, which is one of the biggest reasons why most of our agents are so consistent and are not riding that real estate roller coaster. So I said I would open this up for Q&A. We've still got a full room here. So drop in the chat. What was your biggest takeaway? But most importantly, I want to hear what questions you guys have. I've got a few minutes left to share, so I want to make sure we dive in on anything that people had that wasn't super specific. And there are no topics off limits. I'll go ahead and answer whatever questions we have. And I hope that wasn't too much information. Again, you're going to get the recording of this. You can watch it more than once, but we go in way more depth in that Onyx conversion training as well too. So I'm going to wait for a few seconds while the questions are loading in here. And if you guys don't have any questions, you guys know how to reach me. Carly put our information up top. And I'd be more than happy to answer questions. If you want to ask one-on-one, you can go ahead and shoot me an email. You can shoot me a text message. Frankly, email is probably the easiest way to reach me. I just saw a question, and I think it disappeared. Following scripts for new leads. Does the training show what you guys are saying for following up for new leads? So the specific training that we're dropping in here is more for the appointment setting. So that's not true. What do we say for new leads is all clarifying, right? So at least for our company and how I've done most of my business is I never personally did a lot of cold outbound traffic. A lot of it was they walked into an open house or they registered online. So the closer framework, the C for clarify, is like, hey, what brought you into our open house in the first place, right? So I'm trying to understand why people are looking to make a move. So my favorite question there, Eric, to answer your question, Carly's letting me know that there's questions in the Q&A as well too, so I'll get to that. But one of my favorite all-time questions is, hey, Eric, I'm just curious, what had you thinking about making the move in the first place? And if you're in a property, maybe it's, hey, Eric, what about this home has you thinking about making a home move in the first place? Or if somebody's thinking about selling, it's the same question, right? That's my all-time favorite. Let's see. Let me jump over to Q&A over here. What do you have your virtual assistants do within Follow Up Boss? So we are huge on virtual assistants. We have 3 that are just absolutely incredible and been with us for a very long time. Most of what we have our virtual assistants do within Follow Up Boss are things that can't be automated. So Follow Up Boss is an amazing CRM. If you haven't used it, there are a lot of automations, but there are some things you just can't automate. So a good example is if there's something that I would like to be automated that can't within Follow Up Boss, I will make an automation that our virtual assistant gets tagged with a task. So I'll say, hey, Darren is my main guy. Hey, can you do this task because this thing happened, right? And then if I can't automate it, he does that. We don't have VAs go through and do any conversion stuff. So our virtual assistants do not do any phone calls. They don't do any emails. They're all kind of behind the scenes, if you will. Our agents and our inside sales agents are the ones in the database setting appointments, talking to customers. That's a really good question. Awesome. And then, like I said, for when I was kind of answering Eric's question, is when you're following up with new leads, the training is going to be very broad on the questions to ask, but it is very much regardless of the lead source. So these aren't like exact scripts. These are question-based selling so that you are opening the door for somebody to give you way more information than what you're actually asking for. So I'll wait another minute or so to see if any other questions jump in. I'd go ahead and be selfish, but like I said, if you want to shoot me an email as well too, you've got my information in here. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I appreciate it. We are also interested as well too in hearing what other topics you'd like to hear us present about. So let me know. I don't see any other questions for me to answer right now, so I'm going to go ahead and hop out of here. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you next time.